as well.
That's gonna be alright. They don't make it up to the high ground.
Yeah. Cheeky spot to be
Alright,
in.
cool, we're
No
live.
Vision coming out from YBB in their own triangle. So they watch out. Down bot though.
Tianming, he's trying to do something cheeky here with the Echo. He does have Tumbler's Toy, and he sees the leader. Fisher's gonna land, but the creeps are not nearby. Still, he'll pop the Echo, but there's your Ravage. Irving gonna try and turn.
Nice
As
turnaround.
Tianming somehow surviving just with a slither of HP, but this leader is not gonna be so lucky. She will drop mid-TP. There goes your Aegis, and there goes your secondary life. And somehow Tianming, he walks out scot-free. He will not drop.
And that's massive
Sheesh.
for YBB. It doesn't cost them as much as you think for that. Like, sure, Exorcism's down, Echo Slam's
That's
down.
an Aegis
fine,
gone on
That's
Lina.
on Lina.
Ooh, okay, that's even
Take away
worse
that
because
first
all the
EV
net worth is
charge.
actually on Lina. Wait, is this a
It-
carry Lina?
It was pretty awkward for
Mid
Magma
Razor?
to kind of group
Or maybe
two
Razor just
together.
had straight up a bad start.
You could maybe expect Lina to farm alone. I feel like if you're gonna have the tide around ready to use Ravage, you're gonna
Yeah,
want
I don't
more
think that was
heroes
unreasonable
around.
from him to be
You do
around
not
there
want
actually.
that tide solo, or just
The tide was nearby, so he
going
kind of
for
figured
Ravage.
he's safe, and they had the
It's not
backup
enough
BKB
to
with the
maximize that
Aegis,
life.
but I guess he underestimated the Death Prophet
You
damage.
really want dust around.
I think I've seen Death
So
Prophet like
Magma do opt to
played quite a bit
kinda
during the
just
qualifiers.
Work the map, farm where they can.
That hero
and
is,
that
like,
just gives
surprisingly
YBB that
good.
opportunity to find that.
I think
Keep
Although I'm not
themselves
quite sure what,
closer to this
from
game.
what I can tell, the Death
White
Prophet's like
man
really
gets
tanky
engaged
and still puts out
and
a
China
good
is
amount of
inching
push.
towards that
So
blink. This is him without his blink on the shaker, man. Once he has that.
yo, the video's actually out, dude. The video's actually out right now. So if you go to my channel, you'll see like it was recently uploaded. So
12 to 8 now. 2K advantage here for YBB. Very close matchup again. YBB still holding on to that very,
that's
very
a,
slight net worth lead. They don't have to worry about the
if you're Lina, do you really go Shadowblade?
And it just seems like both teams, at least for now,
I feel
all they
like
wanna do is split push the side lane.
I feel like your one job in this game is stand and deliver. Like just stand it in BKB and then just kind of hit them, because the only way you get repositioned is if CK pulls you in with the talent.
Could be ready to take a fight. Wards are dropped for a little bit.
So I'm not quite sure. I don't know if that's the right move to do a Shadowblade.
Round once more. Does have the Crystallis for a little bit more damage onto the heroes if they do show up.
Oh, nice.
Does have protection of his team to back him up this time. So
So Luna's hitting her power spike right now, but the rest of the team is too far behind. I don't think she can capitalize on it.
Tower, no defense coming out.
But with qualifiers, anything can go, because you usually just take like one mistake or two mistakes, and then they just kind of screw up, and then they'll lose the advantage. CK. This CK might actually be a problem. If he catches the Lina, he'll pop her and explode, and she'll explode. Ooh, yeah. Okay, Mage Slayer, really? Interesting. I'm guessing it's just to survive the early game, but I'm not too sure how I feel about it, because this Lina's going right click. Mage Slayer might just be the. I don't think the Mage Slayer was the right item to build, but. Shadowblade in the SF? Okay, I see that. I think BKB next, yeah? Yeah, he got BKB Dragonlance, so then you go Scott. I think you go Scotty now, right? You already have enough damage, now you just need to sustain and just control them. So either you go Scotty or Daedalus. I think I like the Scotty a little bit more.
Smoke out from YBB, very big
Oh, CK Blink, yeah, he's just trying to catch the Lina, that's the only thing he cares about. Okay, they're cut in.
Frontline for the team. He wants that big Echo to set up. Just a nice Fisher. It seems like Magma are well aware that there's a smoke ongoing, so they do back their way out, and looks like they should be able to TP out just fine. QYQX. So might be able to get out.
Oh, wow, that was so close, Jesus.
Obviously not going to catch the TP here on the Marcy. Some are unable.
So freaking close. Alright.
Good dodge out
So
by Magma.
they're calling out a gank at the bottom,
QYQX.
or they're moving bottom since the CK showed top.
Came out, that would have been a very different story.
So the team must be behind the CK.
Probably still haven't seen the blink from Chun Ming though, but they might have been able to just mentally assume that the goal was there. So just have to play again a little bit more cautiously, get that build up you want. By another smoke out though, might catch Magma for a loop here.
Okay. Okay. No, that's fine. It's fine. I wouldn't take this fight. Wow. They're actually taking the fight, dude. Very nice. They're actually doing it. They actually caught everyone before their ultis went off. Wow. I guess because the SF got caught immediately, and so he was forced to TP out, and they were able to chase everyone else. Actually, that kind of makes sense. I think if he had, that's why I think he's gonna go for the Scotty now. I think he realizes just that he's still kind of squishing, can still die.
So ballsy, dropping the wards onto the SF, cutting him off from trying to run around. BKB does not help you out in that situation, and he just loses a BKB charge as well. So you don't have that long duration BKB.
DD Lina, sheesh.
Sure, without Ravage and
Okay,
a lot of
I guess that works.
Magma, you're probably not going to be able to do as much with that opening, but neither does the side of YBB, and that's the blink reveal out now for Chan Ming. So now they're very aware that the Shaker is going to be a problem and just kind of adjust accordingly in these fights.
Oh, is this thing? Oh my god, okay, that Silver has just paid for itself, holy crap. That's actually so big. Who cares, it's the Marcy for a carry. Holy shit, this Shadowblade is actually going to do so much work. Damn. I don't think that's the fight you want, bro.
Not too bad of a trade for themselves,
Nice.
giving away the CK for 2 supports, and that's going to be enough.
CK for 2 supports. Okay, that's fine. That's fine.
Kind of helps even out or helps to mitigate the loss you took with Summer dying off. You still feel a lot better there on Magma. That's the slam down once more. So the slam.
Okay, I think they still if they keep farming the CK, then the DP just takes over. It's a really hard game actually.
Ravage only about 40 seconds away. A pretty good window for Magma to kind of force something. And Roshan is going to be up in about 50 seconds. So that window.
They need another
probably
pickoff.
won't
Ooh,
matter
this
as much.
Razor?
You will have some extra
Going for an
time as well
Aeon Death.
for the Roshan without the threat
What's
of
his role in the game?
Slam.
Like if I'm Razor, what exactly am I trying to do? Just link the CK so he can't kill the Lina?
Up on our Razor. We talked about that.
Or am I trying to link the Shadow Fiend?
Not going for the refresh.
Yeah, I think I linked the Shadow Fiend, right?
Just wants the Aeon Disc.
Because the CK just blows you up with the illusions.
And it's going to be all about that Roche. Almost up. Maybe a pick off or two here for either side can open up that for anyone to take.
All right, let's check Hacker News really quickly. See what's up.
On the high ground, ready to go whenever. Just trying to get the information for his team.
Americans consistently overestimate how much culture has changed. CongressGov.api. What the heck is this? Oh. Oh. You can actually look up amendments, bills, summaries, Congress members, committees. Oh, that's kind of cool. Treaty data. Oh, okay, let's see. Treaty moved through its parliamentary stages to include presentation of resolution of advice and consent to ratification. I bet you someone's gonna make a trading bot out of all of this. Our 5 failed YC applications and one successful one. 6 time to get into YC Combinator. Time we pivoted, YC rejected, blah, interview with Michael Seibel, why do I see? Alright, let's see. A talent marketplace for designers, didn't apply. Graph design software, unified inbox software, CRM. Each of these ideas sound good. I don't know. Let's see. Talent place for marketplace for designers. It's okay, but you already have Fiverr. Design, graphic, collaboration software. Isn't that just that's just like a layer on top of Photoshop. Unique product design collaboration. Okay. Unified inbox software. This one's actually pretty good. Actually, I would say you have too many inboxes, have a piece of software that'll help you filter through all of it. Sure, that's fine, but then it's like, what's the monetization? Are you just gonna put ads on top of it? Simplified sales CRM for startups. This one's actually not bad. This one's not bad compared to all the other 4 ones. This is the one that actually stands out to me. Ideas long and vague. Zero proof you can execute out of print. Yeah, Long and vague because you don't know what the heck the business plan is, and zero proof. You never tried starting it off the ground. You just ask for, hey, we have an idea, give us money. Have you tried B2B? Yeah. Why aren't you making money? Have you tried other things? And given X has happened, how likely is it to continue? Easy. 10-minute grilling. Yeah, you better know your shit. Like, it's engineering. If you think of it from a perspective of an engineer, it's all about, hey, under what circumstances is this really going to work, and how likely is it going to work in the future given XYZ headwinds? If you just answer that, then you pretty much already get your, you pretty much understand what they're asking for in the next 10 minutes. So final pivot, why you don't pay, if your users don't pay for your B2B product, you don't have a product yet. CRMs, we built a easy to use CRM for startups, yeah. Charge from the get-go, we didn't get a YC anyway, yeah, so you decided to actually know what the fuck you're talking about, and you actually have a proof. Yeah, paying users, user retention, clear go-to-market path, no bullshit. Yeah, big one. It's surprised how much people like think they don't. It's like, let me rephrase that. It's surprising how much people don't know they're full of shit. Knowing your business deeply. Wow, yeah, it kind of helps. If you're in business, you better know your business. Yeah, fluffy words and vague and fluffy words, too much bullshit. There you go. I think this is a lesson that you guys in engineering can actually take away as well. Give the idea. Don't give the fucking. Don't actually. It's like, give me the idea. Don't give me the fucking full like words and nice shit up on top of it. I mean, apply like all the ideas here are basically things that you apply in engineering as well. So it's not terribly difficult to see. I would say more it's like a lesson for life as well. So with that, let's bring out my client and let's see what's up. Oh, what the heck? Am I not signed into my Zoom? Oh my... I don't know why Zoom does this. It just keeps kicking me out of my own account. It's actually so dumb. Standard deal takes 7% for 125% for 125K and equity worth 375K next capped or price round. Oh. Yeah, give me up to 7. Yeah, that's quite a bit. Yo, hello?
Hey, Edward.
Hey, what's up?
Hey, man. How are you?
Hey, doing good. How about yourself?
Good, man.
All right, cool. Catch me up on like what you've been doing, and how your practice has gone.
So I reviewed our replay, our session from Tuesday. I did do the checklist like you suggested. I also reviewed the Twitter problem, and I did for this replay analysis, I did type ahead.
Okay.
So for my checklist, you want me to paste it in the prep doc?
Yes, please. So I can see it. I want to see like where you are. So I'm gonna let me put 9-8 in there and just put it in and paste it in there.
Okay. I close it 1 second. Okay, 9-8. Okay, I see it. Yeah, so for this problem, the type ahead, I didn't look at these notes. I tried to do it as much as I could. Going forward, do you want me to refer back to this as I'm doing problems, or is this just something I have to kind of have in the back of my head?
You're gonna have this in the back of your head. So I want to clarify something about the checklist. These are all things that are going to be relevant questions that these are like tools in your toolkit, right? Now, sometimes you're going to forget you might have one or two tools in your toolkit, but in general, all these questions should be able to help you get towards the right answer. And so I make you explicitly do it, write it down as an exercise, so that way it sticks in your head a little bit better. Because, when you go into the actual question, you're not actually going to have this list in front of you, right?
Right.
But this is more of a formality of like, hey, I know these tools are available to me, and if I screw up on a problem, then, and I look back at my checklist, and it was in my checklist, then chances are I need to remember it or prioritize it,
Okay.
So start a simple naive solution, super database, going back to your functional requirements, most important, dependency, find its inefficiencies, iterate, afterwards go back to step 5. Yeah, did you forget any functional or non-functional requirements? Okay, that's pretty solid. Mention read-write number ratio. Okay, that's fine. This inefficiency was important. How can we be smarter, more efficient? What is this addition too hard, complex? Find a different way. How can this fail? Yes, will be the strain. Is there a bigger problem we're missing? Is there a single point of failure? Yeah, I think these are all reasonable questions to have. But although for me, there is no way I would ever memorize this. Not because I can't. I would say mostly because I physically cannot. If you can memorize all this and you can make it intuitive, more power to you. But I'm saying you personally, for me, I don't know a way I could memorize it. But just having that list is already a good start. Don't get me wrong.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So otherwise, heuristic, single responsibility principle. Yep. One thing only. Data forever. IDS, replication strategy. Yes. Okay. So far, I am not disappointed with the checklist. I think this is fine. But I'm very curious, like, how you put this into practice. So, do you have any diary entries you want me to look over?
It's row 8. So I did this document, and then I jumped into the problem. So yeah, I think I have to look at this some more to further cement these with practice, right? Not memorization.
Yep. Because at some point, it can't just be like, oh, let me actively recall what the hell I was doing. No, yeah. It has to be like instinctive, like click. You should be able to see immediately at like 1 or 2 steps ahead. If I do this, I'm likely to hit XYZ problems.
Yeah.
And that comes with practice, right? But the checklist is just a start. Okay. So you said row 8, right?
Second tab, yeah.
Got it. Okay, you said type ahead. I am not familiar with this problem, so let me look at the drawing. Cool, design type ahead. Users should be able to enter a text into a search box and get suggestions. Users should be able to see the text and populate a search term. Nice to have personalization. Should be able to be highly available, reliable. Okay, so this is basically just the Google autofill, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I think that based on what I see, it's okay. This is reasonable popular search. Highly available, reliable, AP. Do you want data to be unavailable? Do you want inconsistent data? AP. We don't care about 500 million hits versus 501. Yeah. I would say as long as you have like the top N number, and you can guarantee like, 99.9 that the top 5 results are permanent, and the rest bottom, let's say 200 suggestions are, might be missing one. I think that's fine. I think that if that's your reasoning. Okay. Okay, try. So yeah, so you start with the core algorithm. It's basically a one big try, sure. It's definitely more complicated than that, but why not? I think I like the way you mentioning the core algorithm. I have no problem with that. I think that's going to be important because there might be other ways of doing it, but I'm curious how you scale this out. So let's see. So you do some back of the envelope calculations. Okay, so 120 gigabytes of search data. Now my question is, why? This is the amount of data that you have in a year, right?
Yeah.
Does that mean that? How do I phrase this? What's the turnover rate of your data?
Let me see. I'm trying to remember if I mentioned this in the video that I recorded. Whether,
The reason why I mentioned turnover, it's a little bit nuanced, but if I think about the product, right? If I type in, let's say you, right? Then it should autofill YouTube. That's probably going to be true a year from now. So in other words, the search data is not incorrect to estimate 120 gigabytes per year as a conservative estimate for how much data you're going to need. It's just something that you might want to bring up. Okay. Other thing you might want to mention, if I'm looking at this, if I'm thinking about with how the products interact, is that type ahead should have some response time.
Yeah.
So I think that's something that you might have missed.
Yeah, I wrote that in the diary after reviewing this. I definitely missed that, like, specifying it.
Mm-hmm. So let me ask you, what's the question that you need to ask yourself in order to try and in order to get this?
Okay, yeah. So for that one, okay, how can I clearly define the functional requirements, right? Because I say user should be able to enter text and search box and get suggestions. Since we're dealing with something on the web, you expect a response, right? So how fast is that going to be?
Yes.
Okay.
That's basically that's part of it. I would say if you think about it a little bit more logically, a user I would say just go back to the user interaction, right? Pretend you're a user. The user is typing in the text box, right? Now, what is the most important thing what is the most important stuff to the user? Or you can think about it inversely. What are the things that if we don't have will piss the user off? That's the way I would think about it. So instead of trying to think of it from the affirmative, try to think about it from the negative. So it's like it's an inverting tool. So in other words, if my response time is slow, that'll piss the user off. If I don't come out with a good list of suggestions, that'll piss the user off. I would probably go try to bullet. I think it's a lot easier to think like that.
Yeah.
It's just my opinion. Okay, so then now, all right. So then now you start off with your load bound. Okay, application data service, search service, cache server. All right. So going into this problem, what do you think is the first thing you would want to tackle?
Retrieving the text for the user, the top results.
Okay.
Since it's a type ahead. Also, as they're typing, I would do the retrieval first and then the insertion into your database.
Okay. So if we're using your chart, and I think you had this yet, like what's the most obvious pain point or something?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I would say where will there be strain on the system and where? So let's just throw that heuristic at it. What would it be?
The string here?
The string? What?
Or what's the most important, you said?
Yeah, let's suppose that you're starting with the problem. I'm trying to get a sense of like how you progress through it. What is the first pain point that you would want to tackle?
Yeah, so if I remember correctly, I did the being able to search and then that gets saved into the database with the account. After that, I said that I wanted to I wanted to throw off these keys into somewhere else, into like the search service, so they can get offloaded onto there. Because the pain point there is you don't just want to grab everything from the database, right? It's gonna be a really hard problem to do if you just have the search term and the user. How are you gonna come up with the type ahead? You're going to have to iterate through all the queries. You still don't know how far back in time you want to look. So then I said, okay, let's introduce the search service. This can help alleviate some strain from the database. You can also introduce a cache there. So you can also introduce a cache so you can rapidly get these results for the user.
Okay. I see where you're going with this, but I don't agree that's the smartest thing to do because, well, for one, you said that you're backing this with a try, right?
Right.
So if I think about it, I'm going to have a bunch of users, and you already wrote that the personalization is nice to have, right? So in other words, if I'm just throwing a bunch of users at it, all I'm really looking up is a try. So the question now isn't like, oh, the search service, like what search term is a user searching for? It would actually be trying to populate this try and scale it out. That's at least the way I would think about it. Because all I did here was throw a bunch of users at the problem. Yeah. If we go back and use like the Twitter posts, right? Let's throw a bunch of users at the problem. What happens? well, the number of tweets that they send out and retrieve is going to grow. And so because of that, we will have we might need to start sharding the tweets, or in that case was moving into cold storage eventually. And then we also would need to partition some of the metadata. In this case, I just applied the exact same heuristic here. If I throw a bunch of users at like, let's say Google search, look ahead, and it would be how to scale out this trie data structure.
Yeah.
So in other words, I think you kind of missed the point there. So in other words, what heuristic would you say we needed?
With this one, it's going back to what's most important, right?
Yeah.
In your functional requirements.
Right.
Yeah.
So we look at our functional requirements. We see users should be able to enter text in the search box and get suggestions. Users should see text based on popularity of search term. Out of these, I think the first one's gonna be the most important. And so because of that, you're gonna have it boils down to being able to handle this trie data structure first, because that's your choke point. Being able to send back a piece of like a string, let's say each one averages 10 characters. That's 10 bytes. Sending 10 bytes down the wire is really cheap, you know. And I think you have like 500 million queries per month. So let's say each one of those queries is 10 bytes. So what? That's 5 billion. That's 500 million. So if that's 5 billion, so what? That's a kilo, mega, giga, terabyte? 5 terabytes? Something like that. And that would be about 200 gigabytes per month. Yeah, I mean, I'm dividing it by 30 because 30, and I'm rounding 5 to 6. So 200 gigabytes per month. You do the math. That's like 20. That's like 2 gigabytes per second or something. I don't know. You get my point. Is that it's something that's a small number that it really doesn't matter. Even if I delivered back 10 items, right? I multiply that by 10. That's where the math calculation will come in, and I can't do that off the top of my head. But it seems like it's a relatively small number, so the throughput isn't your problem.
Okay.
So so the trie data structure is what you're gonna need to do.
The focal point. Okay.
Yeah, let me see what Grokking does. I think that they might do what you did though.
Yeah, they did deep dive into how to optimize the trie data structure.
Okay. Oh, I see. Yeah. So you start with a typical trie data structure. Let's assume that you start there. What is the next step then? How would we try to optimize this?
Yeah. So the next step is we decided we were gonna return the post based on the number of hits, right? Or number.
Wait, what do you mean post? What do you mean post?
Oh, sorry, the search term. So if someone searches like World Cup, right? And then they search like for the year, you're gonna return the top 10 that have the most hits, right? This is not taking into account personalization.
Wait. Are you talking about like Google ranking search results, or are you talking about autocomplete?
Autocomplete.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, how does that work with your trie data structure? And feel free to edit this. Let's call it the Excel draw, just so I get an idea of what you're talking about.
Yeah. So. Yeah, so the whole idea there is, let me see, I didn't, I don't want to base this off memory because I read the key after.
Okay.
But what they do is, they in every node they. Like, for example, you type in hello, right? And then you can have hello Bob, hello Alice,
yes.
Hello world. What they do is they generate the results, the top 10, and then they insert it there. So it's going to be really fast. Your trie is going to be loaded into memory. You traverse down that path in the trie, and then you're going to have your top 10 results right away. And these accounts are updated on the side. They're not updated on real time. So yeah, that would be the next step there.
Okay, I see. All right, I see. The thing is that you would need to be able to grow this idea, right? So you mentioned like being able to cluster some of the trie nodes, I think, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so like and this is mostly a English language specific mnemonic because you would know you have like consonant and then a vowel, right? Or you might have ch and then a vowel, or like some like I forget what it's called, like the consonants, the non vowels, or like some chunk of non vowels together that might be a certain group that might be grouped together. You know what I mean? Like CL or something like that. And so that would be one way to definitely improve the efficiency, but that's a language specific improvement. I think that's worth mentioning. Next thing would be, okay, now that let's say we did that, and now how would we grow this out? Because again, there is not only do we have to deal with certain like individual words, we're also doing phrases. So you might be able to break up a word into like syllables, right? In like as a heuristic, let's say we're able to break it up into syllables per node, right? We might end up having like a full sentence, like how do I, pet my cat or something like that. Yeah. So that's where it grows as well. And so the next thing would be how to do the ranking for that and how to know how deep to go. So that's something that I would probably start thinking about. But you see, like, all it is just like, okay, what happens if I scale out this individual problem? So, looks like they talk about MapReduce here, really?
Yeah. That's another thing I wanted to discuss with you, like, because you said not to mention specific technologies. Does that land there? Because I also wanted to say, okay, so let's introduce this into the queue because it's relatively generic, as opposed to saying like a specific technology like MapReduce.
Okay, so my understanding of MapReduce is that you're really just splitting up the job into a bunch of parallelized jobs, subjobs, right? And then you combine them all together at the end. That's not necessarily bad, and that's okay if you're okay making sure that each individual unit is fine. But then MapReduce is a little bit heavy. But then you also have the option of like Apache Spark for streaming as well. I do try to avoid specific technologies until I can justify that I can use it, right? In this case, if I wanted to parallelize, let's say manipulating and parsing the trie, MapReduce is a very obvious one to me. Because, if let's say I have my tree structure, right? And I, with 10 nodes and dependencies and subtrees, right? If I do operations on each one of those 10 subtrees, that has no bearing on the other 9, right? So I can, by that justification, I can do MapReduce.
Okay.
So, and I think that's a perfectly reasonable answer. There's so many other technologies out there that it's fine. I always say like someone more, who is more privy to this stuff, and that's not me. We might have been able to come up with some really, really interesting streaming operation, right? But then the counter argument to that is like, how likely is the top n number likely to n popular queries likely to change versus the bottom? And so I would be going to discussion of, users tend to click on the first 5 elements or something like that, and therefore those get like 90% of the traffic anyway. So it's not like we need to the streaming would have like no effect. So we can do offline parallelized operations with MapReduce. And like you said, go ahead.
Yeah, like I was thinking like, okay, MapReduce didn't come into my mind, but queuing did, because if you have multiple queues, right, you can parallelize this in another way.
Yep.
So that's just my thinking there. So it did throw me off there a bit, because MapReduce, and you start getting into the inner workings on that. So
So you're not wrong. Like, you started with a single queue, right? And I assume that's for your search service, right? Where you submit, hey, this person has ASDF, and then this other user has ASG1 or something like that. And I assume that's how you're handling it for the for searching, right? And that's fine. But when it comes to actually like optimizing the trie, let's say once we have like gathered our data and we need to redo our rankings, that's basically what they're saying here, I think, for MapReduce.
Okay. Yeah.
Because MapReduce is a big offline operation, so you can't take your entire thing offline just to do it.
Yeah.
So, again, you kind of, all roads lead to Rome, but if you kind of think about it, I think you eventually get there. So I would definitely recommend redoing this problem a bit, but.
Okay, yeah. Sure.
All right. Next, so not harping on the trie. Let's see if we can talk about permanent storage of the. Oh, they have permanent storage of the trie. Okay. So there, I guess the question is how to serialize it. In case, because okay, so where do you think this question is coming from?
the serialization.
Yeah, why do you think they asked for a permanent storage of the try as part of the problem?
Yeah, because you don't want to load all these. You don't want to rebuild the try every time. You want to quickly load it into memory, right, and pick up where the user left off, right?
Okay.
So another thing there I thought about is like, okay, you can have a machine that's running your try. You can take that on offline, and then another one can come and take its place, right? Sort of thinking about replicas here. So that's why I thought it was that's why I thought it was important to have the storage for the try.
I think a more simple answer would be what happened. You're loading the try into memory. Well, then again, it might be a very, very big try, so it might not be able to exist in memory.
Okay.
That's one option. The other option is if we're able to load it all in memory, what happens if we suffer power loss? So we might lose the entire try itself. So serialization and trying to store it is probably going to come up, because this is like the main model that's driving our entire product.
Yeah.
Again, most important thing. Let's throw some like bullets at the problem. What can go wrong? In this case, power loss. So that's how you would get there. I would definitely add that to your list. Like a lot of these questions, like they usually have a very, very simple origin. Okay, scale estimation. Okay, whatever. You already did this. I don't. That's fine. Okay, and then they do data partitioning because you need to be able to meet higher efficiency and lower latencies. All right, were you able to hit this one? Partitioning.
Let me see. As far as specifically data partition, no. I did talk about load balancing this. But yeah, no, I didn't go into that.
Okay.
Yeah, because they say, okay, let's in one server we're gonna have like A through B or C, right? Yeah, right there. Server 1, server 2, server 3.
Oh, I see. So based on their first letter. Ooh.
So yeah. Yes. And they say, okay, if they type in A, we can query both servers. Yeah, that's something didn't come to mind. So.
Okay, so let me see what they're trying to say, because this doesn't make sense to me. If we store our phrases in separate partitions based on their first letter. Okay, so then let's say you have A, and then start with a B, another partition. Oh, I see. Effectively, what they're saying is that each leg of the node of the tree gets put into a partition. Yeah, that doesn't sound right. Yeah, that doesn't really sound right, because let's say I have, if I'm typing in like AS space AD space AF. Now, does that mean that AS AD AF will live in one partition, or does it mean I have to do AS and then go to a space and then restart the whole search, and then accumulate that? That doesn't make sense to me, but I think it's the first thing I mentioned. So let's see, partition based on maximum capacity of the server. I don't like this one either. This one's obviously not right to me. Yeah, so you see, they kind of come up with some like what's it called, trade-offs, right? So it leads us to hotspots of lots of queries for a term. Then the server will have higher load because it just naturally has more data in it that's available. Hashing out the term, I think this is probably this one's probably okay. But the point here is that you should be able to understand the trade-offs of each one of these. So if you missed that, that's definitely a note to take.
Okay.
And then the rest of these, like caching, machine learning. Yeah. All right. I think the rest of these is like whatever. So and you mentioned personalization. Okay. So overall, I think you missed out on quite a few points that could have easily been discoverable. I think you should give yourself more time when doing these problems. Try to hit every single part of the problem that is relevant.
Okay.
All right. Let's take a look at what you wrote down. What you did right, choosing FR, simple FR, having tried offline saving a disk, right path by trying to take up memory. Eventually, prioritizing personal results. Okay, but these are not like the important parts. I would say having a try offline by saving a disk. I think that's important. Simple FR, yes. But you missed out on stuff. Let's see what the mistakes were. Wrong. Missed saying a number you should get back.
That's the response time.
Yeah, response time. How fast? Okay. I thought you meant like number of results.
Yeah, I missed that one too. Like, these guys made it simple. Okay, we're just gonna return the top 10. So.
So that's basically you would have to, like I said, ask yourself what would piss off a user.
Yeah.
How many results should a user get back? Didn't talk about runtime or try data structure. Yeah. Again, that one is you could figure it out just by saying, hey, what if I throw users at the problem, what the hell will happen? Case sensitive. I would have missed case sensitive myself actually. So I don't entirely blame you for that. But it's worth discussing. So the interviewer will bring it up. But then you should be able to have that discussion. I was like, oh, if we're case sensitive, we don't have to hold as many nodes, and therefore the amount of data that we hold will be smaller. But our, we might not be able to handle full sentences, or maybe proper nouns as well. So we can't make that distinction. Now the question would lead left is like, oh yeah, well, do proper nouns actually matter here? So it's Yeah, so I'm going to say that for now, that one, you just need to be able to have that discussion and kind of be able to reason through it, but you don't need, I wouldn't say it's the most important thing. How often will try get updated? Yeah, we did say it's okay to have AP data will eventually come, but if you keep, as you said, there needs to be some kind of ranking, right? So the question now becomes, how often do we need to update the ranking and try itself? So yeah. And that should, just simply asking that question would have led you to a better answer and more deep discussion in your data structure. You have millions and millions of text, how can you process? Q, MapReduce job, missed this one. Yep. So how do you scale out the problem? That's something you missed. Update try count with exponential moving average is new to me. Yeah, I think that was new to me as well. But I would probably have just said, oh, use the weighted average of the last 5 months, where last month is like worth more, the month before that worth less, and the month before that worth less. I think that's what EMA is, but I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. That's what it is.
Oh, that's what it is? Okay. I just did a weighted average. That's really it. But, okay, that's fine. But then that involves an awareness of like the popularity search terms would be changing on a month by month basis. So that would definitely need to be part of the product discussion. So that one is kind of just thinking back to the user. Would the user be pissed off if we had not up-to-date results?
Yeah.
So different ways that we can piss the user off, I think, is a really good way to think about this. Deep diving to try, store 10 results each node, fancy optimizations, etc., etc. Okay. Yeah, so you did miss a lot. So the question now is like what you need to do with the improved questions. So yeah. Okay, so let me see a replay. Let me see what else I might have missed. Did you send it to me?
Yeah, I emailed it to you.
Okay, let me download it. Oh, I see. You also wrote you're gonna go vacation this weekend. Yeah, tonight till Tuesday. I'll be able to put 48 hours. I don't want to stress the weekend. I wouldn't say don't phrase it as mental health.
Okay.
I would phrase
they
it as
have that in their email.
I look. I'm gonna tell you straight up. The mental health thing. I think people just like fucking overdo that shit. Like if I think about if I think about like my fucking grandparents, they were living in some remote village in China, right? And they escaped communist rule, went over to Hong Kong, 1960s, lived a pretty tough life, and did they take a mental day off? No, they just coped. So if we think about like our lives today, we're spoiled as fuck compared to that, famines and shit. And we need mental health days off, dude. Like if there's a famine, there's like, okay, how much? They're gonna be like, fuck, we just gotta cope. We gotta survive through this shit. We don't take a mental day off because there's a famine, dude.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I tried to reschedule, but they seem a bit hesitant on that. This was before I scheduled you, or this is before we linked up, right? So,
right. Okay.
Yeah. So I'll see what they reply back, right? So.
Okay, I'm down.
Yeah, it says, oh, reach out to us if you want to reschedule, blah, 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 mental health. I'm like, all right, can I reschedule? And that's what they replied to me.
Okay, but I would say if you really want it, depending on how badly you want it, you'll go with your vacation for it.
Yeah.
And at least that's what I would personally do. But, then again, Russell was actually able to take a vacation, but I had more time with him. I'm actually kind of amazed that, he was like, he only had like a few shots at like a few companies, and I was giving an eyebrow raise to him doing a vacation like on the 3rd or 4th week, and I'm like, wait, what the fuck? I mean, we still hit our shot, but we had more time.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
I mean, I don't recommend if people really want something, they're willing to give up shit for it. So
Yeah.
that's my take. So okay, let's take a look at what you got going here. I got it open. Yeah. Okay. I noticed that you only have 27 minutes of content here. Keep in mind, a lot of the system design interviews are 45 minutes. Give yourself at least that time in practice.
Okay. 45 minutes. Okay.
At least give yourself that time in practice. I mean, I only do 35 minutes in the interview just so I can, for the sake of time, right?
Yeah.
At least for us, because usually I can already and this is true for most interviews, they can already tell how good you are within the first 10 to 15 minutes, and the rest of it is just a formality of you executing on it. And so usually when I start looking at your performance, usually your biggest mistakes are within the first 10 to 20 minutes, and then I let that ride out for between 20 to 30 minutes just for the sake of time. But with each time we do it, you get a little bit further and further ahead, right? And so, so don't feel the pressure to like get shit done in 30 minutes.
Okay.
Let's see what you got here. The heck? Why is it so low?
Suggestions. There's not much user interaction other than entering the text.
Okay.
So they should be able to enter text. Search box, get suggestions. Non-functional requirements. Should be highly available. Reliable, of course. Theorem.
Yeah, you throw Captain at it, fine.
PP, right? So argument is do you want data unavailable? Do you want inconsistent data?
Okay.
For the sake of argument, I would say we can go with AP, and the reason behind that is it's okay if we don't see the latest search terms at the user types. For example, hello world.
Very clean first 3 minutes. Very clean. I like the way you phrase this. Do you want data to be unavailable or do you want inconsistent data? I like that very much. And I would highly recommend you keep that because that shows the interviewer you actually understand what exactly the captain is asking and the trade-offs. So I really recommend you do that. Okay. So you recommend a try? Yes.
I want to decide how to put this at a high level. I would have to organize all the searches that the user ever enters and save it somewhere in a database or data store. So yeah, we have to keep these values because you're
Okay.
let's say for things.
Okay, you just kind of gloss over the try data structure actually. Even though it's like kind of the core part of your algorithm, which is fine, like as a naive solution, but then you're gonna start thinking about how to scale it out. All right, like I said before. Okay, keep going. Do your math here. Fine. I honestly, I don't really give a shit about the math that much. I just care that you do it. I'm not gonna check whether I was right or wrong because I'm really bad at mental math. But it's important that you do it very, very quickly, just so you understand where the pain points are. So if I see here, okay, yeah, a minute to 2 minutes on math to check your throughputs per second. Eventually, you want to get to a point where throughputs per second. You get like a throughput per second and how much your data grows on storage. That's it.
Okay, per second. Okay.
Yeah, is your throughput and the amount how much your data grows. That's really the only two things you really care about when it comes to metrics. But honestly, if we think about this logically, like I said, I just did the back of the envelope calculation, and it's very obvious to me that storage, not your throughput, is going to be a problem. The calculations are just a formality. But
so you said throughput will be the problem here?
No. Remember how I said, oh, it's only 10 bytes per, per search results, and those 10 bytes times, let's say, the 10 results, right? That's 100 bytes per user per query. And considering if we estimate like 1 query per second per user, that's what 100 bytes per second. That's nothing. right? So obviously throughput, even if I multiply that by 1,000,000, that's not a whole lot, right? 1,000,000 is going to be a giga. What is a mega, right?
Yeah.
it's a
Okay.
megabyte.
Yeah. Okay.
You get my point.
Okay.
Anyway.
Yeah. Okay.
So obviously it's going to be storage. That's going to be your biggest issue. So I like I said, this math thing that you do is really just a formality.
Okay.
But so don't fuss over it. That's what I'm trying to get here. Okay, let's see how you do here.
Web server is going to maintain some sort of count and save a search term. So
Sure, whatever.
So server, and the count must be updated. This is so we can tell how many hits it has received. That data is going to be fed into another data structure that's going to maintain our try data structure. So for that, let's see. Okay. It's not an object store. You simply want to load all this into memory. That's fine. Given that we're not going to deal with a lot of data, it all fit into one server. So let's say we have our try data structure. I'll just define that as a server running a cache inside. So this cache is server. Yeah. So,
Okay. Yes, I see. You merely assumed that everything would be able to fit into memory. That's where the problem started. Is that you made that incorrect assumption without trying to, bulletproof test it. It's like, oh yeah, well let's throw a bunch of users at the problem. Yeah, and then it would have come out. Oh wait, that's not actually true. So, okay.
My reason for this is this cache. This cache. Maybe that's not the right approach, but essentially what I mean is this data structure is going to live inside memory. It's also going to get saved back to this. So if the machine shuts off, the machine boots up again, and it's going to load this data structure into memory again. So,
I mean, the cache is not wrong for like hot search terms, like for instance, Super Bowl 41 or whatever. If the Super Bowl is going on and people are really just doing Google search for it, that's not wrong, right?
Okay.
But it's that you kind of, like I said, you jump the gun.
The user can quickly retrieve it. Okay.
Fine.
Let's see. I see the count. Then I see the search term. This is my search post.
Okay.
We want to have the user right.
I don't know what search. Okay, search post. Why post?
Search term. I used the wrong word there.
Okay, search post. Yeah, that because I think you're too used to like, oh yeah, the Twitter tweets, the Instagram feed problems. Yeah, I think that's the consequence of that. So
tagging URL too.
Yeah, so be a bit more mindful about your naming. It can play a very big role. So okay, so each search, basically have a key value store of search term and count as your analytics. I think that's basically what you're saying here. So if I were you, I would definitely keep that in a separate database from the try, and then use that as my ranking. So or like I would probably have like search post, and then just be able to like have some aggregate. Or actually, you know what? Another way to approach this problem, and this is like off the top of my head, I would probably put this in like a unstructured database, like Cassandra or something, and then be able to query the last 5 months of it, and then use that the 5-month query through another service that is asynchronous, and then use that results to rank stuff, and then use that to affect the database of tries, or to just keep it as a actually I would use that, and then I would just feed that back to the try.
Okay.
It's just because like you have so many search query posts, I wouldn't be able to fit that all in a single database, and there's no point to either. It's like, why would you want to have one separate table for search posts count, and then another database, another table specifically for a try? These would be two separate structures anyway.
Yeah.
So that's just my thinking. But yeah, that's just mostly my instinct talking. But if you did the whole scaling out problem, like, okay, why don't we have a shit ton of searches going on at the same time? We can't always update the try. Same thing. Okay. Let's see what we got here.
It doesn't make sense to we're gonna keep our try data structure. Into memory.
Okay, so this is the assumption that try data structure can all fit into memory.
Yeah. Key search terms from key and search of C text based. Introduce a service for this. Enter a search term.
Okay, yeah. How many times do you see the key? That goes in cache, sure.
The user clicks enter, gets saved into this database. That data is then taken over to the server that maintains the track data structure that gets loaded into cache. So the transient searcher can maintain count as well. Yeah, because I'm thinking like for example, hello Bob, hello world, hello Alice. You want to type in hello, and you want to order the results that the type of that's most relevant. By relevant, I mean who has the highest count. So to me, it makes more sense to introduce some sort of service that will handle this, rather than me doing all this complex logic in the cache. I want to introduce a service for this.
Okay, so you do some cache population service.
If there's no cache, there's no.
Okay, I understand. So now my question is, if you're gonna do it asynchronously, you're not adopting either a fan in or fan out policy. You're basically just having it updated asynchronously and ranking it in the cache. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about that. The reason why is because cache is supposed to be an instant lookup. You know, it's effectively just a key value lookup, right?
Yeah.
So that
Yeah. So you're not supposed to do like computation on it, right?
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. Would you do a computation on a hash map?
Yeah. No. It's just for a quick lookup. That makes sense.
Yeah, that's why I don't. This doesn't seem right to me. So the I don't even think like Redis or Memcache would ever do this either. It just doesn't make sense.
Okay.
Yeah, because again, keep in mind, cache is just like key value pair. It's just a hash map to memory essentially. So there's no reason to do like some fancy thing like this. Now, if you said something like, oh, every 12 hours, we can rebalance the cache because LRU might not make sense, I can see that argument. Like, oh, we'll repopulate it based on based on our ranking from the XYZ search post or whatever. Or you could just stick with a classic LRU cache as well. That would also be okay. It just depends on how many searches you're getting, and that would be your throughput, right? So then you could make that argument as well. I don't know. I'm just doing this off the top of my head, but I'm saying that these are two solutions that would have been much more reasonable than what you produced. So.
This is not bad. I want to reduce that. Also, the search service, okay, it can be going back to my functional requirements. Multiple of these. I want to take a chance where if it goes down, the user cannot enter into personalization for World Cup. It goes into that within server, it goes into the search service, and then it can retrieve all these results.
Okay.
But however, let's take that into consideration. I'm a historian. I look at the World Cup from 40, 30 years ago. So a lot of people may be searching for the World Cup from a recent World Cup, but if I want my results personalized, I want to view
you're talking about personalization. Okay. I don't need to see any more from here. I think I have a good idea of what went wrong. Basically, one, throw users at the system, see what happens, and how you're gonna piss off the user. And third, I think you probably want to think about the details of of how these things work. So when I say that, I mean, okay, how does the cache work? How does sharding work? How does the partitioning work? Because I remember last time you had a little bit of struggle with metadata partitioning as well. So I think that's where Chapter 9 in DDIA is going to help you.
Okay.
So I'd recommend you do some reading there. That's my feedback to you. But after this, I don't think there is... Yeah, there's not really much else I can really say that's important. I would say these three things alone are enough that you're going to need to really spend a lot of time on.
All
right.
Okay.
Yeah, any other questions? If not, I can let you go early.
Let me look at my notes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. One last thing. For the checklist. Do you have any feedback on that? Should I just add things as I go? What do you recommend there?
Yeah. Like for instance, the question of like how pissing off the user is a very, very good heuristic actually.
Okay.
And so add it as you go, right? And eventually your checklist is going to change with time as, some things become ingrained in your memory and you're never going to like fuck it up. Other things are going to be like, oh, this is this is a one-off thing. I'm going to de-rank it and make it a little bit less use it less, or maybe take it off my list entirely because it doesn't make sense and I have a better way of question that can cover it. The idea is to be able to get your checklist down to like very, very, be as efficient as possible. Now, so what I mean by this is that if I have a checklist of 5 questions that covers 90% of the questions that I'll ever encounter, versus a checklist of 200 questions that will cover 95, I'm taking the 90% checklist, to be honest.
Yeah, the simple one. Yeah.
Simple one because I get a lot more power out of it, right? Now, if you're asking would I choose a 8-question checklist to get to 95%, we can start having that discussion. But it's a sense of trade-off, right?
Yeah.
So.
Cool. Awesome, man. So for homework, you said to do some leak code and more system design.
Yeah. Remember, I think I recommended an 80-20 split.
80-20 split. Okay.
80% of. Yeah, let me write that down. So 80% and system design, 20% leak code. Because you did, like I said, you did screw up last week, but I'm going to test you again next week.
Okay. Okay, cool, man.
All right. You good?
Yeah, we're good. So yeah, it's good. The next one, I did schedule it for the 23rd, so I'll wait to see what they hear back. But yeah, I'll put in the time this weekend. So.
Yeah. All right, sounds good.
Cool.
Right, take care, man.
Cool. Awesome. Thanks.
All right. Bye. All right. Any questions from the crowd? If not, I'll put some Dota on. I haven't watched the debugging video yet, but really looking forward to it. Yeah, man, it's like 48 minutes long, so I don't know if you're gonna be just put it on like 2x speed, I think, and then you'll be fine. But yeah, that's the one. It just kind of like tells. It's a story of me debugging under uncertainty, and it's like kind of goes through my thought process of how I would look at a multi-million line code base and try to fix an issue. I think it's a good watch. I don't think a lot of people put out content like that, or if I've seen any video like that not only talks about the strategies that they use to debug really complex shit, but also how to a really solid example of going through it. I like, to be honest, I enjoyed making that video. I hope you guys enjoyed like a few of the memes in there too. But it's not a video that I would want to keep making. I think maybe doing it once a year is good enough, maybe, or once every 6 months. Is good enough for me. Beyond that, I'm like, because it just takes so much. It just takes too long to do it. And honestly, I don't like the essay type videos anymore because, to be honest, like I feel like I've reached a point in the in my content where it's like if I just say more shit, it's gonna confuse the shit out of you guys or my audience. So I'd rather just keep it simple. I think everything that's been said has been said. All I really need to do now is just provide examples. And I can just say, hey, yeah, if you guys have any other questions or confused as to why I'm making certain decisions, I think just say refer to the guide or something like that. I think making the examples is definitely a better way of doing these things. What does FR and NFR stand for? Functional and non-functional requirements.
ZC, he'll pop the double damage to Irving, but Irving can just TP away, understanding there's no way to stop the TP. So it is going to remain a 1-to-1 in the favor of Magma.
Yeah, it's
Anything else from anyone?
It's still a fairly close game.
I guess I'll leave it on for like a few minutes and wait for people.
Alec, you feel pretty good. Radiance is finally up.
Wait, that's not even going for Desto, really?
Hit full force for
Do you really want to go for Desto? I guess he's trying to beat the Alchemist timing.
Coming through there. I think the next step for YBB is
I guess he's trying to beat the Alchemist timing.
Their push isn't the fastest. They need to kind of commit for this kind of push, but
yeah, he's not that
still
farmed
got
actually.
ZC if they find
I would have expected like 1,000 gold more on him.
Magma
Then again, their carry lane got crushed.
Opens up the triangle just a tad bit more.
Yeah, this Alchemist is not going to be online for another 8 minutes, so they do have a timing that I think the Lifesteal is trying to capitalize on. If I was them, I think the most obvious one is to kill the Death Prophet and go for, or Mars and go for Roshan.
It doesn't take so much time.
But this BKB is actually going to be huge.
Not that much, because again, he flash farms pretty fast, but that's a lot of time for YBB to just keep playing this game as they have. Just be aggressive, use that global presence you have in Chanming well, use this early presence that Lifestealer has just by his kit very well. The Desolator is almost done now on Summer, and that'll just make short work of any hero that shows up from Magma.
Mid lane, there is a bit of a group up from YBB. But have a look around, but let's try to make a jump in. Right now, they'll probably still be very happy with the state of the game, YBB. Summer really is keeping up very well against this.
Alright, yep. This is a no question coming in from the crowd. I'll turn off the stream. Thank you everyone for joining me. We'll be back Tuesday, 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Otherwise, join me in the chat. Hope you guys